There is a new tone here at Queen's Park. Premier Doug Ford promised to reset his government after his massive cabinet shuffle in June. But that all got sidetracked by the cronyism scandal that forced his chief of staff to leave. Yes, it's summer and the legislature isn't sitting, but it still feels quite different around here. And one of the many examples I can give you is the change in tone around the battle over the beer store contract.
It's within our power to legislate this bad deal away from the people of Ontario, and that's exactly what we intend to do.
That was former Finance Minister Vic Fedeli talking about ripping up the beer store contract 6 years before it expires at a potential cost of $1 billion to taxpayers. Now listen to the more conciliatory tone from the new Finance Minister.
We promised that we would make beer and wine more available. We'll move forward on that in a purposeful way, and I do believe that you will be able to get your favorite brand at a corner store, but we'll do that in a way that makes sense and a timing that makes sense.
The same can be said for the minister responsible for the autism file. Then versus now. Lisa MacLeod was widely condemned for her harsh tone with families of vulnerable children.
So I'll be very clear. This is the program. This is what's going to be implemented.
In contrast, the new Minister of Social Services, Todd Smith, who's one of the most affable ministers at Queen's Park, apologized for the government's handling of changes to the autism program.
We are certainly sorry.
But it's not just the ministers who have changed, so has the overall messaging. Press releases in the past had "for the people" in statement after statement after statement. Recent releases don't seem to carry the well-known Doug Ford slogan.
For the people.
The emphasis now, insiders say, is less propaganda and more policy. Take Ontario News Now, the government's social media arm, which has been highly criticized as propaganda. Sources say its emphasis is shifting to showcase more of the caucus members.
Cities are growing. We want to make sure our economy is growing as well.
And less of Ford spokesperson Lindsay Vanstone.
Our government for the people.
Sources in the government who spoke to City News on condition of anonymity say there is a definite change coming from the Premier's office after Dean French, his friend and former chief of staff, left under the cloud of the patronage scandal. It is no longer my way or the highway, one said. Now they describe it as a more measured and methodical approach. Ford ended his first year in office plummeting in the polls. Another insider told City News the goal in the Premier's office now is to keep calm waters and not have him rise to Justin Trudeau's bait. The Prime Minister has been repeatedly slamming Doug Ford as part of his election strategy. Now, what remains to be seen if these are just surface changes or if there will actually be a change in delivering and executing policy, and if this new tone will soften voters' impressions of Doug Ford.